So my name is Paul Maltby. I'm a director of the Government Innovation Group in the Cabinet Office in the UK government. And one of the things I help look after is the cross-government data science for government team. So with ourselves and the Government Digital Service, the Office of National Statistics, and the Government Office for Science, we have a small team thinking about how do you introduce data science techniques into the practical end of public policy making. So this is a great timed example for us to be able to explore where the academic community and other communities are at to develop that better. The session we were in earlier on how do you start to apply an ethical framework to big data and data science projects was important in that the range of questions that were being posed by the audience are really making us think about how and when do you apply that as we practically seek to bring that into the work that goes on within the government. Well, I think there's formal and informal content, right? So there's the connections, there's the thinking, there's the challenge that you get from putting ideas out to a group of people as notable and qualified as this. But hopefully I'd also see some practical content. From my side, I would love to see what people think are, say, the top 10 public policy processes that should be using different data science techniques in order to take them further. I think it's quite easy to think about where all the challenges and difficulties of this world are, but sometimes it's also nice to think about where the main opportunities are for government or others to take forward, because I'm sure those opportunities are many and varied. The main question is, where do we start and when do we continue? This is deeply practical, but it's important to understand the scope of what we're talking about. There are probably fewer than 24 data scientists within the normal, pardon me, the normal domestic parts of government, and so the number and type of projects that we're taking forward are actually relatively limited today. Having said that, what we're trying to do is find a practical way to make sure that we try and do things in a sensitive and careful way. I think these are powerful tools. We're at risk if we apply them not just to the full extent of the law, but also with considerations of what it feels like to be a member of the public and have data about you analysed in this way in government. There's some huge opportunities there, both for the citizen and also, of course, for the general taxpayer. But there's also, we have to be very careful about what techniques we're using and that we don't put to one side the important questions around privacy and the security of that data. So this is we're doing this as we speak. So to be able to bring in the academic knowledge alongside the practical action that we're taking is a really important part of developing a sensible approach to data science in government. The stakes are a lot higher for government. There's a degree of control and coercion in a lot of government's activities. You don't choose to send your tax details through to the government. We demand it on pain of punishment that you do that. That implies an extra level of caution and concern, I would hope, in therefore what we did with those data. I think it also starts to explain some of the differences that you might see between the public's, so some sections of the public's willingness to share data very liberally in some contexts versus to what they might be prepared to allow for government. It's quite different. How much use of data can Waitrose do when they get in exchange for your free cup of coffee? It's not that much, right? So compared to the things that in theory government could be able to do. So I understand those differences, and I think it's important. But these are relatively similar questions, and I don't think the private sector is one unified entity either. You've got big differences between people who are not yet aware of what these techniques mean. Just like some parts of government, you've got other areas where this is part and parcel of their core business model, and I think we're yet to get to there within a government comparison. But that's quite possible within a number of years, I would have thought. I mean, I'd like to see more people involved in this space between the deep analytical world, the computational sciences world, and those working on government analytics and government policy making. For instance, these questions of ethics we've been touching on today, I think this is not just a question for government people or for the social scientists involved in this, but perhaps also for those mathematicians working on some of the deep algorithmic work. These aren't separate worlds anymore. So the connections between these disciplines and between these types of practitioners are only helped by conferences like this.